In today's podcast, Paningwak Hilman tells the story of how she reclaimed her cultural identity as an indigenous Inuk Greenlander, despite the after effects of colonization and widespread mental health stigma. A jack of all trades, working at the intersection of media and social justice, Paningwak is a force to be reckoned with, and she's on a mission to put Greenland on the map through Instagram and TikTok.
I'm so grateful to be giving this platform to use my voice, and I just hope more of this will come in the future.
In this surprising, high-stakes conversation, I reminisce about my excursion to Itotokormit, one of the most remote settlements in the world. But Paningwak reminds me that Greenland is so much bigger and so much more diverse than just igloos and eating polar bears. After all, this is the world's largest island, but it's only home to 50,000 lucky people. What does everyday life look like here? How have younger Greenlanders begun the collective process of healing, empowering themselves to overcome intergenerational traumas like alcoholism, suicide, and diminishing recognition from the Danish government? With an inspirational level of honesty, Paningwak reveals her own personal story of overcoming, choosing to love herself through mindfulness and nature, and the sacred ancestral art of tattoos. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get into it. Hey, how's it going?
Amazing. Thank you so much for letting me talk to you. I'm so honored.
My pleasure. You know, I tried to, I was going to announce you by name, but then I don't want to look stupid and mess it up. So can you please show me how to pronounce it?
Yeah, so the P is like silent. It's Paningwa, and it means the sweet daughter in Greenlandic.
Paningwa, is that right?
Paningwa.
Paningwa. That's awesome. Are you a sweet daughter?
Yes. I know my mom and dad is very proud of me, so.
I guess that's all that matters if you make your parents happy, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you do. You have a very inspiring life. I want to dig deep into Greenland and Greenlandic culture because it's absolutely fascinating. But before we do that, introduce yourself.
My name is Paningwak Heilman. My last name is from Germany, from the whale hunters, I think. And I'm 32 years old. I'm a single mom of two. My daughter Mila is 11 and my son is about to turn 4. I'm currently transitioning from university to business school because I found out what I really wanted. And I'm a freelancer in the media world. I'm a producer, casting director, editor. Whatever you want me to do, I do it. I do many things, and my main purpose the past few years has been to put Greenland out in the world map because I've realized with social media how little people know about Greenland. So that's something I've been doing for the past 2 years with mainly Instagram. And other than that, I post videos in Greenlandic about mindset and how to have a better life in Greenlandic on Facebook for my Greenlandic audience.
Which is only what, like 30,000 because of the population?
We are about 56,000 people living here, and not all have access to Facebook. But my background is when I was 16 and 19, I tried to commit suicide. And suicide is one of the biggest problems here in the country. We have world's highest suicide rates.
Why is that?
I think it's mainly because of the colonization, how the Danish government tried to make us Danes, try to take our language, our traditions, our culture, and the very fast modernization that happened during the 50s, 60s, 70s. And you know, they sent people to Denmark so they could become Danes. And one of them was my mom. She was 11, and I have an 11-year-old daughter now. I would never send her to Denmark to become a Dane. It's absurd. But it happened to my mom. You know, we grew up not proud of coming from Greenland. It wasn't something to be proud of when I was younger, but it's thankfully changing now. So I went to rehab when I was 19 years old. You know, people, mainly Danish people, they make jokes of Greenlandic alcoholics because it's also a huge issue. But I've been sober for almost 13 years now. I will reach my 13-year mark July 8th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And my parents have been sober for almost 18 years. So they're the one who broke the cycle.
When you say sober, you mean just from not drinking alcohol or other substances?
Everything. Clean and sober for almost 13 years, since I was 19.
So your late teenage years, you had a rough time just trying to identify yourself, maybe feeling like you were hated on. Also, I imagine that the cold weather, especially in the winter, no sunshine, that contributes to a lot of depression for Greenlandic people.
Yeah. I began drinking when I was 13, so the 6 years I was drinking were dark times. But then I realized I wanted to live. I didn't want to die. And I've been trying to create a better life ever since. And I'm pretty proud and happy where I am today. And I just love to put Greenland out there because so many don't know anything about us. And it's only when Trump tried to buy us or he like made that statement that the world kind of opened their eyes to us. I'm just so happy to be able to put Greenland out there.
That's really inspiring, and you know, really sorry to hear about the struggles you had growing up. And it seems like you've really turned it around, and you're in a great place now. Your Instagram is really nice. It's fantastic. You have 20,000 followers, and those people are all learning about Greenland all the time. And that's really, really cool. And it's great that you can use social media into your advantage in that way. And you're going to school, and everything seems to be doing a lot better than it was 12 years ago. So I really respect and appreciate that. And thank you for opening up. That's not easy to do.
It's okay. I won't ever be silenced again. I won't ever feel shame again of my background and who I am and where I come from. So I'm just happy to see more and more young Greenlandic people being proud of coming from Greenland.
Beautiful. On that note of beautiful, I really want to note your tattoo. So some people will see this in video form on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel where I post the podcast. So if any of you guys are listening and want to watch the video, go to Roots of Humanity on YouTube. It's a separate channel. But for those that are just listening in audio, I want to let them know that you have really, really beautiful two vertical lines next to each other that are just below your bottom lip, and they go down to your chin. And then also on your hand, you have a bunch of cool lines. So yeah, that's really, really, really cool. Can you talk about, oh, wow, on your chest as well? Where else do you have tattoos?
Right here, it says, I heart Mattek. It means well skin. And it's a tattoo, a tribute to my father. His nickname is Mattek, well skin. Also, it has a double meaning. It's both our delicious food, the Mattek, but also my dad.
Very cool.
All of these are hand-poked.
What's the inspiration behind the facial one? Is it have to do with anything tribal related?
It's a Greenlandic traditional hand-poked tattoo. So when the colonizers came 300 years ago, they forbid Greenlandic people to practice these things. So these almost disappeared. And it's only the past 5-6 years that we are revitalizing and reclaiming this art form, the tattooing. And I got mine 5 years ago as one of the first ones in Greenland. I think we were about 5 who had it back then.
How do they do it?
You traditionally do it with a needle hand poke. It's not with a machine. So there is meanings to all of them. And we have amazing tattoo artists, Greenlandic tattoo artists, and other Inuit in Canada and Alaska who has been researching what's left out of what the colonizers tried to erase and forbid.
There's a girl that I know on Instagram. She does the throat singing. Her name's Sheena Nova. I'm sure you've come across her before.
Yeah, we know each other. We follow each other.
I actually was in contact with her like before she get 100 million followers. She also tattooed her face recently in a similar way. So you guys are connected. You're both Inuits?
You know, Inuk is singular and Inuit is plural, so you don't have to add the S. So it's Inuit.
You're both Inuk'S.
Inuit.
Oh, Inuit.
That's plural. Yeah.
Inuit.
We are both Inuit.
Like sheep.
Yeah.
Sheep is plural. Yeah. Just the word. Go ahead.
We're both Inuit. So we are connected, and that's why we...
Is it like... So when I look at the map here, I mean, I guess Nuuk, or your city in Greenland, is not that far from northern Canada. It's actually right across the bay there. But how similar are the cultures? Do you like similar language, similar lifestyle, similar... Or is it kind of different?
It's so similar that it's absurd. I can understand Inuk'S, the Canadian Inuit dialect, and they can understand the Greenlandic Inuit language. And we all eat the same food, and we all have the same clothing. Not entirely the same, but very similar. And we all have the same facial features, and we can look at each other and, just know that we're from the same DNA, I guess.
Can you give me a little sentence?
What does that mean? My name is Peningwak. I come from Greenland. Thank you so much for letting me talk to you.
That is so cool. How many different dialects are in Greenland?
Oh, we have the West Greenlandic, that's the official language. And then we have East Greenlandic, which I cannot understand at all. And then we have the northernmost Greenlandic dialect. We say Avanoswamut. And I don't understand them either. I need a translator to both East and North Greenlandic.
So I went to Eastern Greenland. I went to a town called Itotokormit, which is one of the most isolated places in the world. I took a cruise ship from Norway to Iceland, and then we crossed the beautiful Greenland National Park, which is the biggest national park in the world. What's it called? East Greenland National Park or something like that.
Yeah.
It was so amazing. So many icebergs. We went in like July, so we got 24 hours of sunshine. And then we arrived on this tiny little beautiful colorful town called Itotokormit. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of this before, but they live in complete isolation. There's no town within like 1,000 kilometers, like no settlements. I mean, they rely on like really whale and polar bear is what they've been eating for centuries, but also when cruise ships come in, they bring them some snacks and some other things, but they have no dentist. They have no I mean, they have a doctor. The town is just a couple hundred people, maybe 1,000. I don't know, but it's really fascinating to see how they live so isolated, but they're happy. And they had like one little jail with they said no one's been in there in like 5 years. I actually made a video on YouTube. If you type in Greenland Drew Binsky or Itotokormit, if you know how to spell that, I just type in ITTOQQ. That's all I know of how to spell that word. But it's really cool, and I do know that they're totally different than in the West. I mean, different language, different everything. What can you say about that town in Greenland and maybe just the diversity overall on the island?
We usually say that Nuuk, the capital city, is very urban and international. We have so many different nationalities here, and we have so many restaurants, cafes, movies, fitness, swimming hall. It's a tiny European city. When you go outside Nuuk, in my own personal opinion, you go to the real Greenland. It's where you speak only Greenlandic. Because here in Nuuk, we talk like Greenlandic Danish mixed, because we're under Denmark. Our passport, our nationality says we're Danish people. And I know how East Greenland is, and I know everything about Itotokormit and Dialects. So you definitely need to go to West Greenland to experience the other part of Greenland, because it's two
I would love to.
different.
Would you show me around?
Yeah, it's two completely different cultures and languages and way of life. I cannot imagine living in a place like Itotokormit with that few people and no stores, no nothing.
When I got off the cruise ship, they told everybody, do not feed them like candy or anything because they don't have a dentist there. And they also said do not eat the food in their gift shop because they only have like one gift shop or a snack shop or supermarket. And if they run out of stuff and if no boats are able to go across, then they have to just eat what's in the water. Speaking of eating what's in the water, they eat, polar bear and walrus and whale, and it's normal. And when I mentioned that in my video, I got a lot of comments like, oh my God, why would they do that? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, guys, this is like they can't grow corn and rice and vegetables. It's like they eat that or they don't live. I mean, going back thousands of years, you guys eat whale too, and you have a tattoo on your arm about that. What do you want to say to those people that are always like questioning your way of life by eating whales when in Greenland, that's what you have to eat?
Yeah, people don't understand that when we hunt, we use everything for survival, and it's been done for thousands of years. When you hunt a polar bear, the skin is made to clothing to survive. The fat is used to have light. Everything is used. None of it is thrown away. We don't hunt for fun. We hunt for survival. And even in Nuuk, we have many fishermen and hunters everywhere in Greenland. And people need to understand this is something very important to us that's been going on since forever. This is not a hobby. Like, people are dependent on survival for all the animals. None of us abuse any animals at all. So I would never understand why anyone would have anything against it, because you need to be here to see how extreme the weather can get, how cold it can get, and how even in Nuuk sometimes we are low on food, like in the supermarkets. Especially during winter, it's like we don't have any fresh fruits and meat, So yeah, I just hope people will understand that this is for survival.
Very well said. Oh wow, it's just cool to hear that because if I say those words out of my mouth, people will give me a lot of negative feedback and say da 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 da. But it's great to hear that from you because I agree. That's how you guys survive. There's not many things happening up there in terms of crops and vegetables. So speaking of things to do, what do Greenlandic people do to have fun? Do you go snowmobiling in the winter? Do you go skiing? Do you go on a boat? Do you go to the movie theater? Talk about just kind of like everyday life for Greenlandic people, specifically in Nuuk.
So here in Nuuk, we love to go to cafes and have a cafe latte, cappuccino, cakes. And a lot of young people have snowmobiles and snowboarding and sailing. So it's all up to you. And in the summer, it's so nice to go out sailing and sleep in the huts that's around the area. Like you sail half an hour, and then there are like cabin huts. Hiking is also very fun. I hike myself and I enjoy it very much. So, when you step out, you're literally in nature. That's the best thing. And when I step out here, I can see the ocean right now.
So
I
cool.
usually just go by the water and sit and breathe to decompress and take the stress off myself from my busy everyday life. And yeah, many young Greenlandic people are on social media and very modern. Because usually, people think we still live in igloos and all of us hunt polar bears. I've never seen a polar bear myself. And something I asked my Instagram followers, the Greenlandic ones, something important that I should say to you. And one of them was, we have no roads between each city. So you need to either fly, sail to get to another town or a settlement. So we just don't go and visit other cities just like that. It's very expensive. Everything is super expensive. I don't know how we survive. I don't know how I survive. And especially,
Is it like Iceland? I was in Iceland last week. Is it like Iceland prices?
I think it's more expensive.
What's the minimum wage?
Every 2 weeks, I would say I know people can get like about $100. So maybe $200 a month, something like that.
No way. There's no way it's more expensive than Iceland and they only make $200 a month. That's crazy.
I might be wrong.
So does everybody just live with their family so they don't pay rent, essentially?
No, but we have huge housing problems because it's expensive to rent and the renters takes advantage of that. So you need to really kind of overwork yourself to be able to make a living. But they're building a lot here in Nuuk. But I know that the development of other cities are very slow, much slower than Nuuk. So Nuuk is the place where everything is happening. It's very fast.
Yeah.
And you need they're building 7 buildings right here across my building right now. And they're making lots of noises every day. So it's massive building these years. It's so weird to see. And even like tiny skyscrapers are emerging downtown, and it wasn't like that when I grew up. And this town has about 18,000 people living.
How many of those 18,000 do you know by face or by name? Like if you walk in the supermarket, do you always see somebody you know?
Yeah. Yeah, actually. And it's quite normal to see someone you know and you don't even say hi or react sometimes, and we don't take it
It's crazy.
personal.
It's crazy. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona right now, which is polar opposite. It's 115 degrees Fahrenheit or about 47 degrees Celsius today. You can actually boil an egg. If you open up an egg and you put it on the street, it will cook. That's how hot it is. And I'm in a city of 6 million people. So it's pretty, when I look over at my map here, I'm like, oh my God, I would do anything right now to be in Nuuk. So I would love to come there and make a video. So I'm going to count on you showing me around and we'll do something really cool.
Yeah.
And we'll put it on the
We
map.
should definitely take the Nuuk water taxi and do some fishing and go to the restaurant that's like an hour from here and make them cook the fish that you caught. Because you can do that.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that almost everybody in Greenland is educated.
No.
Like there's no like slums or there's no like poor areas where people live and they don't go to school, or am I wrong?
You are wrong. I personally was kicked out of school when I was in 11th grade, and I was 25 when I finished children's school, 11th grade, and I was 25 when I started in high school.
25?
Yeah, I was 28 when I graduated from high school. super pregnant
Really?
with my son. Yeah, of course we have more higher educated Greenlandic people. I want to say it as it is. Many young Greenlandic people are suffering from mental health issues, from the intergenerational trauma. And I would say that this generation is healing. We are more open about our social problems and what happened to us. Many of us are kids of alcoholic parents, and their parents were alcoholics. So we are healing and we are trying our best with the resources that we have to survive. But I don't want to sugarcoat it and not mention that we have suicides happening every week. We have high rates of criminal activities also.
Like what?
Sexual abuse is also a big problem here. I feel in a way that sometimes our government is ignoring these problems and just focus on building that big airport that we have, that they're building so we can have an international airport in Nuuk. They focus on mass development in the country and kind of forget the people who's actually living here. And they just raised the prices for food again recently, and I see so many updates on Facebook from well-educated Greenlandic people who are even struggling now to make it work. So I usually also talk about all these things openly on my social media platforms and just try to give hope to the young people. We still need a lot of educated Greenlandic people, and we have many now, but we still need a lot.
Wow, those are really powerful words that you're saying, and it's something that I didn't know about Greenland. I went to such a small part of the island. By the way, is it the second biggest island in the world, or is it the biggest?
It's the biggest.
It's the biggest. It's bigger than Australia.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is there's only 50,000 people living in the world's biggest island. 50,000 people live within a half a square kilometer of me right now.
I cannot imagine that. I've been traveling too, but I always need to come home to breathe. Whenever I'm out traveling, it's fun. There's so many people. It's warm. But I always have the sense of not being able to breathe. There's so many people and it's so moist like that. And then when you come here, you're home, you're by the ocean, it's silent and you can breathe. That's the true medicine for me. I would never, ever live anywhere else for a long period. I want to try to live abroad, but I'm going to end home because I want to live here and grow old here simply because it's good for my mental health to open the door right now, see the ocean, just silence.
You must hate New York City.
I haven't been in New York. I've been in London. How can people live in a place like that? It was fascinating. You're not there, When you walk by all these people so busy, you're really not there. And here people are so giggly, welcoming, open. We're always open to talk to people, especially foreigners. That's something I'm proud of, that we have a quality, that we're very calm. And some can say that we're quiet people. Because when we eat, we don't really talk just to talk. And something we always joke about is the comparison between Danish people and Greenlanders is during dinner, Danish people talk. And when you go to a cafe here in Nuuk and there's 50 Greenlanders and 10 Danish people, who will be the loudest? It's the Danish people.
It's like Brits and everyone else.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be in Copenhagen, or all around Denmark, actually, for a week in July. My grandparents have never been to Europe, so I told them I'm going to surprise them and take them to Europe. And my grandma has a childhood friend from Denmark who she's really close with, and she lives in Aalborg. It's in the northern part of Denmark.
Aalborg.
Like it's a 4-hour drive from Copenhagen. Yeah. So I think we're going to go there I booked the flight. We are going to go there for a week, so I'm excited for that. Speaking of Denmark, you guys all have Danish passports, or anybody in Greenland who has a passport has a Danish passport. Do you feel weird about that? I know there's some political tension between that. I think you should be proud of that in the sense of that it only in the sense that it can let you travel to many countries, because my wife has a Philippine passport and it's very weak, but a EU passport is very strong, so you can just go to America, you can go to wherever you want to go without having issues. But you guys are different culturally and geographically, everything's different. Is there some kind of tension between that?
Yeah, So we have huge debates going on these weeks, these past few months. About that too, I saw a news article yesterday, I think. I once traveled to Canada for a mental health symposium about suicide prevention. It was within the Arctic Council. So when I was to be represented, I had to stand below the Danish flag. So we don't even have our flag represented at the Arctic Council. And I don't consider myself a Dane, never have, never will. So it's so weird to constantly have to talk about Denmark too, you know? But there's all these stuff going on with Denmark and Greenland these past few months, especially they're like investigating what happened. Now they're having a commission to investigate what happened between Greenland and Denmark back in the days. We discovered recently that thousands of women were forcibly given IUDs in the 60s, 70s, and some of them are still alive, and some of them still have the old IUD in them.
What is an IUD?
Like a birth control. The experiment that went in the 50s with sending children from Greenland to Denmark, and many of them lost their language and culture, and many of them were like weirdly adopted. So I feel like no apology in the world will make it enough for what the Danish people did to us and are still doing. Like our entire system is copy pasted from Denmark, a European system for 5 million people. We're trying to live after that, and we're only 56,000 people. Of course, it's not gonna work. Of course, it's not working. So yeah, I see a lot of people wanting to have our own nationality and own passport. You know, the Greenlanders that attended the Olympics had to be under Denmark. And every time something good with the Greenlandic people happens, the Danish people are like, oh, they're from Denmark. These are Danes. We're only good enough when we're doing good for Danish people. I think it's very wrong.
What's terrible about what you just said about the Olympics is that Hong Kong and Taiwan are technically under China, but they have their own Olympic teams, as does several other countries that aren't full UN recognized countries that are in the Olympics. It's really frustrating to me that Greenland is not one of them. You guys are only the biggest landmass in the world.
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's not like you're a tiny little country that everybody glances over that nobody can see. I mean, every single map in the world has this freaking massive landmass on the near the North Pole, and it's Greenland. I feel for you. I hope that you guys are able to have some more cultural identity, and I appreciate what you're doing with putting it on your face. I mean, that's the most visual thing you could possibly do, because you're on camera a lot on your Instagram and stuff, and now you're on camera. And so that is like a statement right there, you know, those two marks. I really love it. It's beautiful. It's traditional. And when Sheena did it as well on her face, I was really happy to see that,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm
So
doing
keep being
it
you.
for all my ancestors who weren't allowed to practice this tradition. And I'm doing it for the future kids of Greenland. I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for everyone who felt they couldn't be proud of coming from Greenland. And I remember clearly when I got my face tattoo, and the first time I stepped out the door and I was about to pick up my daughter from school, the power that I felt, like I felt so empowered too, like happy. I didn't do it for anyone but myself. Many said, that's very courageous of you. It's like, you used to be so pretty and now your face is ruined, all that stuff. I'm happy to see more and more people practicing this tradition. It's something we are considering very sacred. And I don't really use my time to like answer questions about these things. And sometimes I prefer not to talk about it. People have a hard time understanding this because this is something we just recently revitalized and reclaimed. So it's something very new to us, even though it's been practiced for thousands of years. The colonization really almost erased us, and I'm so proud that we're still here. They tried to erase us, but we're still here. And the power in that, I cannot describe the feeling.
Well, let me tell you something. I can feel the power through my computer screen right now. It's very powerful. I can talk to you all day, honestly, about this stuff, but it's been a great chat so far. I think a lot of people are interested in Greenland now. How can they follow you? What's your Instagram handle?
So it's Bunningup. And I have like periods on the syllables.
Can you spell it?
PA period NIN period NGU period AQ, like Ba Ni Ngu Wak. It's my name.
Paningwak.
Yeah.
Paningwak.
And it's the same
Paningwak.
on TikTok. I have the same username on TikTok. So I try to use the same so people don't have a trouble finding me. I really should be posting more on TikTok, but it's like so time consuming with 2 kids and a busy life. So I'm mostly on Instagram.
Paningwak, I really appreciate your time for this interview. And as a closing statement, if you could say any message to everybody in the world right now, what would you tell them?
Greenland is much more than social problems. Greenland is much more than polar bears and hunters. Like, the people here have so much to give, and the stories that needs to be told by the people. I'm so grateful to be giving this platform to use my voice, and I just hope more of this will come in the future for not only me, but for all Greenlanders to have a voice.
That was so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast episode. If you feel inspired by this conversation, please share it with somebody who would enjoy listening. And if you're here for the first time, make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Also, don't forget to leave a review. Every week, I'm going to be looking through them and highlighting my favorite one. And with that all being said, I will see you guys next week.